Carson Wentz. Teak, to me, and we've said this for a while, I don't think I'm alone, it's a two-team race. It's the Colts and Reich, or it's the Bears and Matt Nagy, and they move on from Trubisky. The issue now is that, at least based on the reports, the Eagles are, I understand an aspect of this, trying to squeeze as much out of any deal as humanly possible, but once it borders on being unrealistic, now it becomes maybe to the Eagles' detriment, and it seems to be trending in that direction. Their expectations for what they could get back for Wentz are not matching up with what teams are willing to give up.
No, because think about this. If you're a team, I mean, maybe the Colts and Frank Reich, because they know him well enough that it makes sense, and they don't necessarily have to do all that background research and go restudy some of his early year film or even his college film, or dig back into his background. They don't have to do that because they already know him. And so in that regard, I mean, maybe you could ask a premium from them because they know him. But the perception around the league of Carson Wentz is not hugely favorable anymore. A couple of years ago, I mean, if you wanted to trade Carson Wentz 2 years ago, and despite Sid not being a part of that Super Bowl run in the postseason, you could probably get 2, maybe 3 first rounders.
100%. Probably. Definitely.
He was on that trajectory.
Yep.
Dude, how many MVPs is this kid going to win? Right? He can singularly lift this team, even if they start to get old and get deficient at certain parts of their roster. But the reality is, it's a what have you done for me lately league, just like any league, any sport. And lately, he's been a problem, not just as a player, which is grossly obvious, but also as a teammate and, as a guy who wants to fight and compete. And I think, maybe the issue here, and you've heard me rail on this many times, BT, he got paid too soon. He didn't. I mean,
you did it with Goff too, and you were on the money.
I guess he earned it, but I can't say he earned it. You know what I mean? Because he got it, so he got paid it, so he earned it in a sense. But did he really earn it? And so I think when you get paid without earning it, you all of a sudden have this inflated view of who you are and what you're entitled to. But the NFL, I mean, this is a brutal business. It should be, and my coach used to say this, you've heard me say it a million times, BT, hiring all positions, right? That's what it should be. And if you're not willing to compete, then I have no use for you. If I'm a coach and some dude, whether it's the quarterback or the left tackle or the nickel corner, and you're like, nah, this is my job, man. I don't care who else you bring in here. This is my job. I'm not competing for it. I'm not going to practice hard for this. It's my job. I'm like, peace. See ya. Get out of here. And so the Eagles are battling this untenable, use that word in the previous segment, BT, but this is starting to become an untenable situation because there's a QB controversy and it's real, but Carson Wentz doesn't want to participate in it, and that's not going to end well, man.
Teak, I remember this is years ago in college, right? Right after the season, one of my buddy's parents had a summer house up in the woods, right?
Yep.
And I just wasn't exposed to that growing up. I grew up in Brooklyn. You know that. We didn't take those kind of vacations. We played a lot of ball. Went to Disney and stuff, but didn't go, to the mountains. Wasn't exposed to nature until I became older. And, I love to fish and all that. But when I was a kid, I didn't have any access to it. So we go up to my buddy's parents' house, and I probably have a six-pack in me. Feeling pretty good, pretty buzzed, right? And they had a rowboat. And I'm like, oh, let me jump on the rowboat, right? And I went out by myself.
Okay.
And... And thankfully nothing bad happened.
I know, of course. I mean, you're sitting here, but...
Well, true. But it's hard. I mean, if you don't know how to properly row, in sequence, I just kept going in a circle, right? And I kept getting more and more pissed. I wound up jumping out and swimming and pulling it back to land, right? This is what the Eagles are doing. They're going in circles. They don't know how to work the oar.
That's a good analogy.
Because they fired Doug Peterson because Peterson doesn't get along with Wentz or Wentz doesn't believe, whatever. So they get rid of the coach. Now, I think Peterson was expendable, so do you. But if you're now going to get rid of Carson Wentz, okay, maybe you misread that situation. And now all of a sudden, the word on the street is that you're grossly mismanaging expectations for what you could get back for Carson Wentz, which might penalize you because, listen, I want to read from the Bears. It was from a Bears insider. To me, this was pretty meaty stuff here. I'll take you inside what the Bears are thinking. And, I mean, they're losing patience. Let me see.
Yep. They should. I mean, the season's over. The league year is a month away. Right?
Yep.
A month and a couple of weeks, a couple of days away.
The 17th is the 17th is the start of the league year, but his contract is fully guaranteed by March 19th. So 2 days after the league year starts, it's fully guaranteed. So let's see here. All right. So this is from, I don't know him, but I'm sure it looks like it's fairly reputable. The Windy City Gridiron, and the contributor's name is Brandon Robinson, and he was recently on the Bear Report podcast. So obviously Bears heavy, Bears intensive. He says, quote, "For what I understand, the Bears made an offer that was bigger than what the Colts had already offered. The Bears had previously offered 2 twos, so it was bigger than that when they went back to the okay, so whatever the Colts did, the Bears initially offered 2 twos, and then it was shot down. They went back to the well, and they offered more than 2 twos. And the Colts said that they weren't going to budge. From what I guess this is transcribed. From what I understand, the Colts had offered somewhat similar to what the Bears had already offered, but maybe a little less. But the Eagles wanted Carson Wentz out of the NFC that much, they were able to maybe take a little bit less. So what the Eagles have been trying to do is to try to negotiate time and time again through every single reporter that will listen that they need more, and they're telling everybody 2 ones, and that's just not the case at all.
No.
And now the Bears are getting really impatient, and I don't blame them. It goes on and on and on. If you want to check it out, again, it's the Bear Report podcast, Windy City Gridiron contributor. Guy's obviously piped in. Brandon Robinson's his name. And, listen, it's not like there aren't other options out there. If the Bears could say, you know what, this isn't working for us. Yeah. We're going to call the Jets about Darnold. Not that, I would think Wentz is probably better, but we're going to go all in on Deshaun Watson. We're going to get Jimmy Garoppolo from the Niners because they might do. There's other quarterbacks that they can go and get.
Yeah, and the thing is, BT, the longer this goes on, and the more noise that starts to grow around Carson Wentz and this potential Eagles divorce, because it was hot and heavy a week and a half ago, right before the Super Bowl, and so that's not going to it's never going to go back to like a tepid room temperature water. It's never. This is going to be simmering for a long time. This rift, this relationship rift that seems to exist between the Eagles and Carson Wentz's camp. What that does, BT, is it creates like an odd, and this is, again, it's a locker room thing. It creates an odd locker room dynamic. Now, fortunately for the Eagles, nobody is there right now. Like, there's no, players aren't around each other. They're not talking about this.
Can't they go lift, or is it not even open?
I don't know with protocols, like the coronavirus protocols, because everybody is probably home now doing their own thing because the season's over. I'm not positive, BT.
Gotcha.
But whenever that opens, if so, let's say it opens in a month or so, right around the start of the league year, and guys, and this is still percolating, this is still simmering and bubbling up at the surface, and guys are now around each other talking about this. That's when it gets really uncomfortable. Right? I remember some issues that we went through about, a player, whether he's going to be here or not. And, does he fit with this new system? And it just gets uncomfortable because that they're trying to push him out, or he wants to leave, and they're not letting it happen. It gets really odd and disruptive, and it's just distraction.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And the thing that you cannot allow if you want success in your organization is distractions. And right now, the Eagles, they've been sitting with distractions for, going back to the week 10 or whatever it was, 11 of the regular season last year. It's been a lot of distractions on this team. So it's no mistake or no wonder why they've had so much up and down nature, failures, disappointments, because they're not clean, they're not clear. There's no clarity within that organization.
I can't remember the last time the Eagles had a favorable PR day.
Yeah, that's right.
Been
I
a
can't
long
either.
time.
Maybe the first game with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Maybe
because even think about the way they finished up the season with Washington.
Yeah.
When they pulled him.
That's right.
That wasn't really the start of the end for Peterson. There was stuff before that, but that was, the point of no return. So, listen, here's my prediction with Wentz. I believe that it's still going to be either the Bears or the Colts. However, given the recent ineptitude around the Eagles organization, all right, and indecision, I'm not going to rule out the fact that they will continue to turn off the Bears and the Colts so much that both teams turn their backs on them.
Yeah.
And that they will then be forced to do business with a wild card team, not a playoff, like a team that we don't really expect maybe to be in the Wentz market, and they will actually have to unload Carson Wentz for less than they could have gotten right now, out of necessity.
Just give him away.
Well, he can't be in a locker room anymore. It's over. He's got to be gone.
BT, he's expressed it, or at least people around him have expressed it, and he has never. And we said this 5 weeks ago. No, probably 8 weeks ago. He's just got to come out and say this isn't true. He's never done that.
Not once.
Never done that.
Nope.
That is, he wants to be traded. He's never said, I want to be here. I want to be an Eagle. I want to compete. I want to win my job. I want to play out my $130 million contract. I want to be an Eagle. He's never said it.
No.
Right?
Not even
We've
close.
heard the opposite. And that's not that. You're right, BT. I agree with you. It's hard for him to be in the locker room if that's the case.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.